Good afternoon, and welcome to the Howard County Office of Human Rights and Equity. My name is Claudia Allen, and I'm the Community Outreach Supervisor for the Howard County Office of Human Rights and Equity. And we are an entity of Howard County government that seeks to eradicate discrimination, increase equal opportunity, and protect and promote human rights here in the county. And we do that in three ways. We've got an investigations unit, an equity unit, and an outreach unit. Our investigations unit does just that. They are committed to investigating cases of discrimination around our 17 protected classes. And they are also responsible for assisting with the mediation and settling or conciliation of a variety of our cases. We also have the outreach unit, which I am pleased and honored to lead, and we are responsible for increasing the presence of the office throughout Howard County. And we do that by providing trainings, listening sessions, planning cultural events, but also planning programming like this virtual programming that encourages discussion around critical topics. And then our equity and restorative practices unit, they are responsible for ensuring that the Howard County government deliverables are being allocated and resourced to each and every resident in ways that really affirm and uplift your humanity and ensure that we are not just advocating for equality, but also advocating for equity. And so, as I said a little earlier, one of the protected classes here in Howard County is actually religion. And this evening, we are going to have the opportunity to have an in-depth conversation with individuals of various religious backgrounds, learning more about their particular practices and beliefs, but more importantly, what has been their experience with discrimination, and how can offices like the OHRE and other community and government organizations partner to ensure that the human rights of individuals are always protected, particularly around their particular religious beliefs. And so I am so excited. I have four distinguished guests with me this evening that I cannot wait to introduce you to. The first that I'm going to introduce you to is the rose of the bunch, and that is none other than Denise Coomer. And there we go. It is so nice to meet you, Denise. Can we get started with you? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So my name is Denise Kummer. The community that I serve refers to me as Dirt Mother. I've been in the Mid-Atlantic region doing women's spaces known as the Red Tent, the safe and sacred space for women within the pagan community. So I travel around festivals and I educate. Um, I guess the biggest thing about pagans to know is that we are just people who simply, our temple is the earth. We worship, Gaia. Mostly we are balanced in, there's many different traditions within paganism. We're very open, accepting of all walks of life because we all come from different walks of life. So kind of a pantheon, covering a lot of different backgrounds. But pagans, generally, I think our biggest issue that we've come across with the nation has been due to being associated with devil worship. I'm just going to be straight with that. That it's a constant question you get asked, and it's actually people are becoming more and more educated and realizing that like we're probably some of the most accepting, people you can find when it comes to religion because we have such a diverse background. So
Wow.
I don't know if there's anything else to add. We celebrate mostly outdoors, and we do rituals. We come together in community and do rituals around the solstices. So that's every month there's a solstice. A familiar one would be Halloween, which we refer to as Samhain. There's winter, summer. These are familiar solstices, and each of those represent a different thing happening, like the seasons changing, and we honor that. We also honor our ancestors as well. So we, that's what we do.
Awesome. Well, no, we're gonna dive deeper, and so Denise, I really appreciate this introduction, this opener into you and pagan worship and individuals who are a part of that community.
Thank you.
All right, the next person that I'm excited to bring on is Utsav.
Hi, Denise. And hi, Claudia.
Nice to meet you. Please share with us your particular community and provide us your opening thoughts.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I belong to the Hindu community. Historically speaking, recorded Hindu history goes back about 7,000 years. The region where most of the current day Hindus live are in Asia. But our historical community spread went all the way from Europe to Bali, or what is present day Indonesia. Bali is still today a Hindu majority state. Globally, we are considered the world's third largest religion after Christianity and Islam. In terms of our presence in America, there are about 4.5 to 5 million Hindus, if you don't count people who do yoga. If you count people who do yoga, then it adds up drastically. But I'm just joking. Not everybody who does yoga is a Hindu. But many people accuse
we can
me.
maybe get into that, Utsav. Maybe yoga has been kind of co-opted, so maybe we can talk about that.
Yes. We have a very diverse tradition. Our religion is known for our, many times we are attacked for being polytheistic, as in having multiple deities and multiple gods. We generally can be classified into 6 major orthodox philosophies and 4 heterodox philosophies, one of which is very famous now, known as Buddhism, because it spread to Eastern Asia and other parts of the world. But there are other similar philosophies that are part of us. So it's a very diverse, in computer terms, what you will call an open source religion. And traditions from all over the world find resonance with us. In its earliest phase, it was and mostly elemental and nature worship. Then more and more layers of philosophy got added to it, and now it's a far more complex philosophical system. We do not believe in heaven and hell. We believe in what popularly is known as karma, very popular term. So that's something very basic about us. There's a very strong component of service in our community, and we believe in serving the community, or what's called seva. And we believe in respecting people who are older than us. Especially the word guru is something that's also very popular in English, comes from our philosophical system. More or less in America, we have been present since the last 120 years, primarily, mostly through immigration, even though we find a lot of resonance with the Native American faith systems. And I would say that in the last 50 years, there's been a rapid growth in the population of Hindus in this country because of primarily from immigration from India. And most of the Hindus, I would say about 80 to 85% of the Hindu population globally comes from India, which has the world's largest population in terms of people. So that's pretty much an overview of who we are.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Utsav. We're going to get more into the conversation with you a little bit later.
Thank you.
And now I'm excited to introduce everyone to Marcus. Marcus, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and the faith community that you're a part of?
Yes, of course. It's my honor to do that. Thank you very much for inviting me and inviting a representative for the Baha'i religion. Well, we are basically the Baha'i faith, and that's what we like to call it, faith, rather than religion, because in some shape and form, religion has lost its meaning with all the things that we hear about the fighting that goes on between religions, and the push and pull and the lack of unity. We think it's more of faith. That's why we'd like to call it the Baha'i faith. It is about a little over 180 years old. Started in Iran, and we have about close to 8 million followers in the whole world. And it's the most widespread, not in terms of numbers, but the most widespread in according to Wikipedia and encyclopedias online, where they trace the number of localities where Baha'is reside. We are basically all over the world, and we have been in the United States since the late 1800s, when the World Fair opened in Chicago, and somebody who had traveled to the Middle East had met Baha'u'llah, who is the founder of the faith, and he claims to be the return of Christ and the fulfillment of all the promised one of all the ages, of all the other faiths. And he was imprisoned because he started, this faith started in Iran. He was the son of a minister in Iran, very highly placed in the court of the Shah. But because of the fact that he brought this religion and he suddenly found a lot of followers, he was banished from Iran to Turkey, to Iraq at that time, which is a border country, and then on to Turkey, which is now called Turkey, but at that time it was the Ottoman Empire. And then he was then banished again. So 3 or 4 times he was banished until he ended up in a citadel city, which is called Akka, which is a very old city, citadel city in Israel right now. But of course, at that time, it was Palestine. Okay. He stays there, and he still gets more and more followers. People from the West sort of take steamships and find him out, and they visit him, and the faith spreads mouth to mouth. And so basically now we're close to about 8 million. In the United States, we're also a very large number. We are a pretty large number in Maryland. We have local centers in just about every major city. We have a national center, which is located in Chicago. Some of you may have seen our house of worship, which is open to all religions. It has 9 sides, 9 portals, signifying the unity of all religions, and the symbolism includes all the religions of major religions of the world. Is symbolized on the sort of temple sides, because the Baha'i faith is a inclusive faith. It's not an exclusive faith. And I can discuss more as we go on later on.
Awesome. Well, Marcus, thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
And finally, I am excited to introduce everyone to this guest. Please introduce yourself, Orland.
Claudia, thank you for having me. I'm Orland Johnson. I'm the Director of Public Affairs and Religious Liberty for the North American Division of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. The Seventh-day Adventist Church is a church that was really born out of what many people call the Millerite movement. William Miller was one of the first, what I would call religious leaders that was engaged in a conversation of the Second Advent. And a lot of our teachings have kind of spawned from out of that line of thought. Eventually, the Adventist Church was officially formed probably about 1863. And it's a religion in which probably in the United States, there's probably about 1.2, 1.3 million Seventh-day Adventists. But around the world, we have approximately 24 million Seventh-day Adventists. So a lot of our messaging has been leading to really growth from an international standpoint as well. We're a religion that our primary focus, as it's in our title, it's a focus on the seventh day being the Sabbath. We believe the Sabbath starts from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. We believe in a strong health message. We believe in strong education message. And you can see in many of our organizations, whether it's our Adventist healthcare systems or many of our institutions of higher education, We probably have over 5,000 schools across the United States in terms of elementary, middle school, universities, and things of that nature. And but we try to operate from the tagline that we understand that there are so many different religions, so many different beliefs. And as the leader in this department, I try to keep our messaging simple, and we're just trying to make friends before we need friends. Trying to make sure that we understand what we look for, but also understanding what others look for. Our religion's actually been one that has fought for the rights of many other religious groups and those who are non-religious, and making sure that, the Constitution's protection protects us all. And hopefully, as I lead our department, that's something we want to continue to move and to see going forward. Some of the prejudice sometimes you have to deal with is the fact that you're a small group. When you're a small group, you can get pigeonholed into being all kinds of things, from cults to not serious to those who wonder, about your validity. But at the end of the day, I think, it's important for us to realize that we live in a country where all faiths are represented and all faiths should be protected. And regardless of your beliefs, that's the purpose for us being here in the United States. So my focus is always about religious freedom, not just for us, but for all.
And thank you so much for that, Orlin. And I'm going to bring everyone back on now. Okay, cool. I see Marcus there. Okay, wonderful. So based on everything that you all shared, I'm actually going to ask a question that I didn't send, but I would love to get all of your feedback. Could you all maybe share, this might be a good transition, what is one practice that you do within your faith community that you have either experienced or someone has experienced some kind of discrimination for, maybe in the workplace or in trying to get access to resources or opportunities, anything of that nature?
I'll go first if you don't mind. We probably see a little bit of all of that. People who may want to have their Sabbaths off as a means of being able to worship. As I mentioned, Seventh-day Adventists believe you should have off from sundown on Friday to sundown on Saturday, to basically worship God in the way you see fit. So when you have a job that says you have to work on during that time frame, sometimes that's one of the issues you have to deal with. And I think just general discrimination, anything that doesn't look like something else, people just seem to be uncomfortable with. You go to church on Saturday, that sounds like a weird day. What's wrong with you? And so all of these kind of like natural prejudices that exist. And I imagine that, most of the other people here on the panel have probably had similar experiences, but those are some of the things that we see on a regular basis.
Okay.
I guess I had briefly touched on our situation, and that is, I think a lot of association with paganism is that because it had, we had suffered witch hunts, in the medieval times, all through pretty much up to the modern times, and there was a lot of reclaiming that had to happen because we lost a lot of our traditions. So the association with satanic worship, which was constantly a fear up through it hasn't been so bad now, but up through the 90s, like, people were afraid to even be out about it because they could lose their jobs. And they so like at festivals or any gatherings, we were not taking pictures. I've donated to causes where friends of mine have had court custody battles because of their beliefs, like the witch hunt is it's still prevalent, but I find that there's more education now, I think, maybe because of the internet, and more fascination, more so now. But yeah, it was there was scarier times for us to be open and be able to educate folks. But now it's here and there. I more have curiosity.
Okay. Utsav, I think I saw you moving to speak.
Sure. So we actually face discrimination very significantly at two levels. The first level is at a very fundamental theological level. For at least 2,000 years, we are treated as the heathens or the pagans, or if you are from the Middle East, as the kafirs, to be converted or destroyed or killed. We have lost a lot of population to that historically. And in Europe, actually, we are called pagans as well. So because that's the term that was used in the early Byzantine period.
It was like reclaiming for us to take that
Yeah,
name
yeah.
and say and put it around.
And in the Middle East, we were the so-called kafirs, or people who do not belong to the Abrahamic system. So idol worshippers, whatever you want to. So that's at a very fundamental theological level. It's very hard to beat that, because many people genuinely believe in that since they grow up, from the time they grow up. So that's a level that we have to always deal with, and we have to constantly educate people about. The second level of discrimination is more or less at a more superficial level. It's about just us being different. We have female deities. We worship, many of our deities are female. So that's a concept that is not very well known in the Western world until now. Nowadays, more and more people are knowing about it. So God is always male in the Abrahamic system. So that's something for which we have been historically targeted or discriminated against. Just, because many of us come from a different cultures, have a weird accent, speak differently. Those are very superficial level of distinctions. We celebrate festivals which we play with color. There have been news items and campaigns where yoga is also called devil worship, or stuff like that. So it's a very superficial level of discrimination, but what we are more concerned about is a very fundamental theological based discrimination, where we are literally treated as heathens and kafirs.
Thank you. Marcus, did you have anything you wanted to share on this question?
Sure. Actually, there is quite a lot, and I don't know how much you guys may be reading international papers or media, but the Baha'is have had a very bad rap in Iran, which is the birth country of this faith, because the system, the Shia Islam system, is based on a clergy system, and they find the Baha'i faith as a threat to their existence. And with the modern concepts like equality between men and women, like compulsory universal education for children, the fact that women have a priority, if the parents can only afford to educate one child and they have a boy and a girl, that the girl should be educated first. All these things that Baha'u'llah brought for this new faith goes against the grind of the Islamic revolution. And so Baha'is in Iran have been persecuted to the utmost. Children cannot attend university. Jobs have been taken away from people. Businesses have been closed on people. Their life, sort of a way to earn an income, has been taken from them. Right now we've had people who are imprisoned just because of being a Baha'i. And they say that your crime is being a Baha'i. And then they say this is a threat and undermining the fundamentals of Islam, which of course is a concocted sort of a concocted form of a persecution. And this way they sort of, Baha'is aren't allowed lawyers in court. They're just thrown in prison. I mean, right now, the Baha'i faith has a very advanced administrative system, because we don't have priest or clergy. We have 9 individuals who are elected secretly every year to conduct the affairs of the faith. This has been disbanded in Iran because they feel that we are aligned with Israel. And Israel, of course, is special for us because our holy site resides in Israel, because Baha'u'llah, the founder of our faith, ended up dying in Israel. And so he's buried in Israel. That's why Israel is a special place for us. But the Iranian government aligns that with Zionism and the fact that the Baha'is are, all these concocted accusations. So yes, there is a lot of this going on. And there used to be in the Middle East, I can say, in the Islamic world, but we have now found a lot of reprieve. In Indonesia, the Baha'i faith has been recognized as a major religion and very respected. In many countries in the Arab world, the Baha'i faith has been recognized and is now actually one of the religions you can tick off as a Baha'i. They recognize that Baha'is have a reason to live. And we do not engage in politics. Baha'is are forbidden to engage in politics, in basically, I should say, in partisan politics, because it's divisive. The main undermining reason for our being is unity. Unity of the family, unity of the community, unity of the country, and unity of the world. Anything which causes divisiveness and apathy is scorned on. But in Iran, we are looked down and so my hope is that my wonderful Western brethren can wholeheartedly support this persecution, rising against this persecution through writing to congressmen and to the governments and saying, stop this. This is just not fair. And of course, other religions are also being persecuted in Iran. I should also mention that.
Right. So I think that this kind of circles us back to a really great point that actually Orlin mentioned when he was closing in his opening remarks, and that is just like this idea of religious freedom. What does religious freedom mean to each of you, and why do you believe it's important that we have religious freedom in a place like Howard County, Maryland, right? Because I think basically what I've heard from each of you is that each of your faith communities are international bodies or international communities and have a very wide reach. And so what is the significance then of a Howard County working to protect your particular faith community?
I would say with paganism, it's just like a lot of education, just like information. I think once people understand what we're about, it's not so scary, or it's not like this Hollywood version of it. We don't have supernatural abilities, or it really it does help a lot when people just learn, and because my thought is I as a pagan, as I choose to be a pagan, because it gives me the freedom to really appreciate all religions, actually take stuff from each religion, like the goddesses in Hinduism are very much on my altar, to be able to appreciate all religions and try to build bridges.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to go ahead and say that one thing that is very critical to bring about religious unity and in diversity is to actually push the concept of mutual respect. And I underline the word mutual respect. It is not tolerance, and I underline that word. Tolerance, you don't tolerate people you love and respect. Tolerance is a very weak word. And for too long, we have been just living with the word tolerance. I don't know why we did it in the Western world, but we shouldn't. It should be mutual respect, and that should be written down and promoted in every aspect, wherever we want to talk about religion. Because only then this whole idea of my way or the highway goes away. And when that goes away, I think we can all start loving and respecting each other, because imagine this, when we are born, we all are the same. So.
I think, Claudia, the points that the other panelists have made are right on point. The mutual respect aspect of what we should be looking for. And I think more religious groups are starting to understand better that, if you are not looking out for your fellow man from other religious groups, the fact of the matter is, and I can't remember exactly, I think it's Dietrich Bonhoeffer said, and then they came for me, and there was no one to speak up on my behalf. And, and Claudia, you had a chance to attend. So we do a prayer breakfast at our division office every year. We bring in 7 people from 7 denominations, Hindu, Jews, Islam, Muslim. I mean, just to pray. and everyone just comes and prays, and we have breakfast together. And it's amazing that you find out that there's so many people who are so used to being in their own silo that they never get to be around other people. And like Denise is saying, that all these people have these thoughts about who you are, but yet when they sit down with you and just have a meal, they realize, oh, Denise is not much different than me. And I think that's what this really has to be more about. Respect individuals for their independence and what they believe. And it doesn't mean that, you have to believe what they believe, but have respect for them, and understand that that's something that, doesn't hurt you in any way.
Absolutely. So as we're thinking about the difference, are you all hearing an echo? Different. Yes.
May I just add something here, Claude?
Sure. Yeah, please.
Sorry, can you hear me? Because I hear a lot of
can everyone hold on, Mark.
static.
Could everyone just
Maybe
mute themselves?
In and out. If you can hear me, that's good. I think just Orland said that. Tolerate each other. Tolerance is a sad word. We need to respect each other. At the bottom base level, we are all human. And Baha'is, we agree with Article 8, United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which pertains to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. Over 2,500 years ago, a famous king went to Babylon and released all those in bondage. And there's a declaration of human that still exists in cruciform. And he said, you are free to worship anyone and to live any shape and form that you want. To me, that is the basic principle of humanity, living together in love and harmony with respect for each other. The Baha'is say we are all the flowers of one garden. Imagine a garden where all the flowers are different colors, different shapes. You've got different tulips and roses and violets, and everything is all there. That makes it beautiful. The diversity. We don't want, unanimity. We want that diversity, and that's what we should be aspiring for and teaching our.
So I want to make a slight connection to this. Marcus, can you mute yourself? Marcus, can you mute yourself for me?
Yeah.
So as we're kind of thinking about all of this, I think one question I have, what does it look like for employers to provide reasonable accommodations for your particular group? Because as we've kind of discussed, you all hold a variety of beliefs. You practice a variety of things. Orland shared about, not working from Friday night to Saturday night as one thing. I know that different Hindu traditions have a variety of festivals and religious holidays. And so what are some things, like what does it really look like for an employer to provide reasonable accommodation for your particular group?
I think I can go ahead and say that you already addressed part of that, Claudia, that we have a lot of festivals based on the movement of the sun, as Denise also pointed out, because our calendars were usually solar and lunar mixed, or either solar. So what we usually have, we have a spring festival called Holi, where we play with colors. We have Diwali, which is in autumn, where we play with light, lamps. And so if those festivals, especially in places where there is a significant Hindu population, if those festivals are recognized, like in New York, Maryland, Virginia, New Jersey, California, there's a huge Hindu population. So that is very well appreciated, and that makes the community very happy. Just like we celebrate major Christian and Islamic festivals in America. Similarly, if Hindus have a lot of diversity in diet, we are known to be not eating beef very much. So that part is very well known. Most people know that we don't eat beef, but a lot of Hindus actually don't eat any meat. Because most of them are vegetarians, because the non-violence is very critical to major philosophies that come from Hindus, and non-violence to the point where we prefer not killing animals anybody which has a life. Uh, so so that if dietary and it's not because we think an animal is ugly or dirty. We just respect animals to not kill them. So that's something that is critical to us. We would respect if states and counties have dietary inclusions and respect for Hindus. But most importantly, I think just acceptance of the community as a religious faith community is very important, because for the longest period of time we were not accepted even though we are the world's third largest religion, just because we don't come from Jerusalem and our holy places are not in Jerusalem, the Western world never accepted us as a faith.
Utsav, I want to stay with you just a little bit longer. What does it look like tangibly, practically, for communities just for communities to accept Hindus?
I think just acknowledging us as a religion would be a huge step forward. As I mentioned, even 50 years ago in America, if you had a choice, if there was a list of religions been listed out, it would be Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. That's because they are all people of the book, and that's about it. So it's come a long way, but it's still not there. And it's sad because we still are the world's third largest religion after being persecuted for 2,000 years. Right. So we hope that we find a place at the table, and a table that has mutual respect.
Yeah, no, that's great. Orlin, Denise, Marcus.
Well, go ahead, Denise.
Nothing quick. Just quick thing is actually being at the table too, because paganism is not a religion. It is a tradition. It's traditions. They're really cultural too, to where a person's at. So they have different gods or goddesses or belief systems, but the ideal is that it's kind of just invisible, entirely. So there you go, bunch of people celebrating Halloween, and you're at some Halloween party at your office, and you're like, wow. It's kind of, we just enjoy it, but it's not Samhain. It's not how we would honor it. That's a holy time for the ancestors. The veil is thin, and we honor that in a much different way. So so that those holy times for us get a little harder. Like even Christmas it's solstice for us. We come back to the light. It's like the darkest night, and then we come back to the light, and that's completely different, So, but they're very close to a lot of religions all have very similar, holiday times. I think going back to the thing we were talking about before, it's like remembering the similarities between religions and spiritual beliefs. Like that's like Joseph Campbell, would bringing together these different archetypes to show the passionate one would be like Jesus or Allah, or Krishna, and that we have these similarities, but that we kind of get pigeonholed sometimes into the one way,
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna be honest, Claudia. One of the things that's always been tough is, and I'll just mention this from a legal perspective, that the law allows that employers are supposed to provide accommodations as long as there's no undue hardship. But the problem is what is the definition of undue hardship actually mean? And I think it's that interpretation that starts to get things a little bit more murky. Ironically, the Supreme Court just listened to a case on April 18th about a mailman who was working for Amazon and wanted to have Sunday off as his day of religion. And so we're all hoping that this will give the Supreme Court an opportunity to spell out better what undue hardship means, because there doesn't seem to be any confusion regarding religion and people and their beliefs. The real confusion is how they should be treated. And I think that's the part that hopefully the legal part can help, because I think if that's easier to understand and easier to protect, I think what will end up happening, it'll make life a whole lot easier for individuals of all kinds of religions and faiths and traditions to be able to be protected. But right now, it's still a little murky, which means it allows your employer or the person who's kind of like in charge to make that call. And obviously, they're going to pick themselves every time.
Yeah, so that was going to be my follow-up question to you. Is that undue hardship, on the employer, in the sense that, you should not receive, your employer should not be unduly burdened in seeking to provide you religious accommodation?
Exactly. And Marcus, it looks like you have something more to add, but yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, I mean, I've been an employee and have also had my own business, so I can see both sides. I feel that I chose to come to the United States of America 22 years ago from the Middle East because I wanted to feel free. I wanted to be free. I liked the democracy that I saw and I felt on my visits. And that first for the state of Maryland, I was fasting. Baha'is fast 19 days right before the equinox, which is the spring equinox. 19 days before that, we fast from sunrise to sunset. I went to my boss and I told him, you know what? I fast. Early in the morning, we abstain from food and drink until evening at sunset. So please, could you have some accommodation for me? And I realized that was available for me. He not only allowed me to use a room for prayer and meditation, some of my colleagues joined me in the prayer and meditation. He also me to bring my food and heat it up, and he says, he will exempt you from late evening after our meetings because I know you need to go home and prepare your meal for breaking the fast in the evening. And I work for the federal government now. It's exactly the same way. So I love that. I know in Howard County, my children went to school here. They just had to go and tell their teacher, we have a day and I cannot come to school because work is not allowed on a Baha'i holiday. And they were given the Baha'i day off, which is fantastic. This is what I say, to me, is heartwarming as somebody who's practicing his faith in a free country.
Wow. No, Marcus, thank you so much for sharing that. I think what a lot of people don't know and realize, though, is that all you need to do is communicate, right? I think a lot of times because we have these experiences with being not excluded, experiences of discrimination, experiences of harassment, like Denise was saying before, sometimes we feel as though it's easier to be invisible in certain spaces. And so we allow ourselves to be invisible in the workplace. We allow ourselves to be invisible in schools, when really all we needed to do is to just have the courage and the bravery to kind of share with our supervisors, teachers, et cetera, that, hey, I am of this faith community and I want to uphold and participate in my religious practice. And I need your assistance in doing that. And it's then that we give the people that are leading us, the people that are our colleagues, the people that are studying with us, the opportunity to create an equitable space. We give them an opportunity to partner with us and ensure that our human rights are being protected. But it's when we don't share, it's when we don't ask for the accommodation that the accommodation can't be made.
Absolutely.
I see you, Utsav. Did you want to add something?
Yes. So I absolutely agree with you. And Claudia, some of the reasons why people often do not speak out is because they have generational memories of not being heard. They have generational memories of being colonized. My ancestors were sold on the streets of Baghdad and Bukhara as slaves. So there is a history. I mean, 2 generations ago, my grandfather could not enter a building because the British were there. So
Mhm.
we come from 1,800 years of colonialism, and we
Mhm.
so it takes a couple of generations. Like I grew up in a small village in India. I became an architect, and then I came to America. I never imagined growing up, other than watching Hollywood movies, that I would ever set foot in the halls of the U.S. Congress, but I have. So it's a change that is happening over generations. We are far better times today than ever before, but this is not perfect. uh, Therefore, this whole the ability to speak up is
Mm.
slowly coming. And I can assure you, you all know better than anybody else, the America's own history, and how people did not have voice even one generation ago, and some of people don't have voice even today.
Yeah.
So it's a process, it's a journey, but the fact that you are doing this, Claudia, is important. More and more counties, more and more cities, more and more federal government people should do this, and that's where I think the process begins. I'm just happy to be in the company of you all.
Oh wow. No, we're happy to have you. I think to what you were saying, Utsav, I think a thought that has come to my mind as well is as we work, so part of my job here in the office is we work with hate bias incidents. And for those who might not know, I'm just going to probably just give a brief just definition, right? Because maybe you've not heard of that. But a hate bias incident is any hostile expression, language, or behavior that might be motivated by another person's race, their color, their disability, their religion, national orientation, national origin, sexual orientation, or gender identity. And I think what's important about hate bias incidents is that they are often offensive, but they are not illegal. A hate crime is a criminal act that is motivated by bias against another person's one of those protected classes that I named before. And hate crimes may include verbal, physical, or visual expressions of hate, but they also have to have that criminal element. So if you're, yelling out a racial slur, or if you're yelling out a racial slur, that would be considered a hate bias incident. If you draw a swastika on a synagogue, that is considered a hate crime because that is vandalism, and vandalism is a crime, right? So there's these two tiers that we deal with even within our office. And I bring this up because I really want to circle back to what Utsav you were saying. I'm finding here in the office that there are certain groups that are do a far better job at communicating to our office when they experience whether that be hate bias incidents or hate crimes. And I would love to know, probably from all of you, how could we get individuals who are Hindu, who are Baha'i, who are Adventist, who are a part of pagan communities, how can someone like myself in offices like ours really encourage your communities to report what you're experiencing by way of discrimination, because we are not receiving that information. And I know it's happening and it frustrates me daily because I'm like, I know it is not just, Islamophobia. I know it's not just anti-Semitism. I know it's not just these groups. And so it's like, how can I get these other faith communities to also share with us what they are experiencing?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you from our perspective, and I run an office where we're out to help people protect their religion on a regular basis, and I can't get people of my religion to call me to tell me they're having a problem.
Wow.
And so I think a big part of it is everyone's afraid that if you stick your head up, that somebody will come with the whack-a-mole and put it back down. And you're so afraid of what the actual outcome is. I like to tell people, America really is a great country, but we're also a country of winners and losers. That's how we're described. And I believe the thing that winners do to demonstrate they're winners is they create a class of losers. And when they point to that class, that's how they kind of elevate themselves. I think everyone's afraid of being put in that inferior class, that class where you get put upon. Because when you're in it, Claudia, you feel like you're not sure if you could ever get out of it. So you're afraid to kind of step into it. But I do think that programs like what you're doing right now, to be able to show people and to let people come back online and see it, tries to make the argument, because I think people's natural, thought process is stay low or else you'll get hurt. And that's what I think part of it is.
Wow. Denise, I see your finger.
I just wanted to say that once again, it's like, being on the table. So it's creating a safe space to say you are welcome here. This, I've never been in a place where I worked where they said that pagans were welcome. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're not even considered like worthy enough to be at the table. And so that's certainly not going to be a place where you're going to go, hey, I'm a witch, because you're going to open yourself up. And I also wanted something I hadn't mentioned before is the, witch hunt was a hunt on women, like predominantly. And so oftentimes I find places where I feel safe as a woman, I feel safe as a pagan. And I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's a lot of women flock to paganism because it is very empowering. And that's exactly what I did within that community, was help women, step up into their spiritual selves, because they were not in some of the places that they had been before, or even, shamed, as a woman, or, so that, to me, those two go hand in hand. But, literally, and it's hard because, the umbrella term, like some people say new age, right? But there's quite a distinction. And that's why we're trying to use that capital P to kind of have that umbrella, because we don't have like a streamlined way, we're an umbrella, but it's like, that's why I've always pushed for the capital P, and so that we can have a term that can have language that can be on the books, you know what I mean? That says, you're welcome here. But I have never seen it in my entire life, and I'm 52.
No, I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah. Marcus, I see you.
Yeah, I mean, answer to your question, I think what you're doing is fantastic. This dialogue, the conversation, I did not know that there's a Howard County Office of Human Rights and Equity. The name itself makes me feel safe that there is an office in my county that I've adopted to bring up my family and my grandkids now, who are 4 and 2, who live here. I am proud to be a member of Howard County, and I'm proud that you're doing what you're doing. What I need to do is to make sure that this voice and the fact that you exist is heard by the youth in my Baha'i groups, the younger people, that there are people out there who care. There are government officials who want to know what's going on. If somebody trips you up at school, if you feel it had a maybe sort of a prejudiced origination, maybe tell your parents, but maybe somebody else should know. Maybe offices should have an officer responsible for issues like that. It's not bullying. Sometimes it's not bullying. It could just be a stare. It could be a look down. It could be a snide comment. And that itself is hurtful when we have an organization out there which is trying to bring human rights and equity. So that's my say. Thank you.
So, Claudia, I just wanted to add something. I myself did not know that your office existed until I got the invitation. Yeah. And just to give you an example, just a couple of months ago, our Lieutenant Governor, Aruna Miller, faced targeted Hindu phobia. She is a Hindu, and she was targeted during her campaign for being a idol worshiper and heathen and whatnot. So it is there, very much out there. But the thing is that, again, as I said, that we just sometimes don't know, or we just think that ignoring it might be the best way to get over it. And I can tell you that that is changing. You have me here today, and from the tone of my voice, you can see that I'm not going to stay quiet. so
No, which I
so
appreciate.
so it is changing very fast, and I think over the next 10 years you will see more and more of these being reported. I just wanted to add a quick note about the swastika. So swastika has been a holy symbol to us for the last 7,000 years, and
Really?
unfortunately a man named Adolf Hitler 70 years ago messed it up for the rest of us. so so so
Wow.
the swastika is if you I once had a German friend who went to grad school with me, and when she went to a Hindu temple in St. Louis, where I went to grad school, she was horrified to see the swastika on top of the goddess's head, because we
Mm.
have been because it's been a symbol to us for 7,000 years. And and trust me, the only place in the world, and you can confirm this with the Jewish community, where the Jews did not feel persecuted and could seek refuge was in India from the Roman times. So there is no correlation between the swastika in Sanskrit, which is our holy language, means good health. uh,
Oh,
and and
wow.
and so we had there's no connection between swastika and anti-Semitism until this crazy guy named Adolf Hitler shows up on this world.
Wow.
And by the way, just one more point is that Hitler never used the word swastika. He used the word Hakenkreuz, which means hooked cross. The fact that it was
Mm.
called hooked cross, and I'm underlining the word cross here, it was very diligently taken out of literature and replaced with swastika.
Wow. No, no. Thank you for that. I've literally never heard that.
So there is a bill in New York that us Hindu American organizations and American Jewish Committee, we brought a bill in New York to make sure we address that. So more and more education is happening on that.
Wow. No, that's phenomenal. And I think that that's really kind of what I want to do. And I know I could say this on behalf of my administrator. We have these conversations all the time just about all the protected classes, but we're wanting to find ways to really tangibly be in the audience and in the presence of people like you all and others like you to just continue to share, because I enjoy saying this. I know people have no idea
Yes.
about this office. I know people have no idea who I am. I literally every day of the week, my job is to come in contact with people that do not know me and change that. That is literally what I do. And so that is something that we experience all the time. And that's something that I am trying desperately to break. I want everyone to at least have heard of us once.
No,
You might
you're
not
doing a great
call us
job.
all the time, but you've at least heard of us once, you know?
Thank you.
Yeah. So, as we kind of come to a close, I wanted to just give everyone an opportunity. Are there any just final thoughts that you would like to leave our audience with on this topic? I just lost Marcus.
I would end by saying we all acknowledged it. We all said it out loud. Mutual respect, mutual respect, mutual respect. Everything else falls in place. Then you stop looking at everything else.
Wow.
Yeah, I would also say, add on to that is, maybe to consider building bridges, in your world, be a bridge builder and reach out and you'll learn something and it will change you. And most likely probably in a positive way.
Mm.
And also that I don't have a green face and there's no warts on my nose.
You don't, Denise. You do not.
I mean, I disagree. I think you have to be intentional about touching other people. It's not going to happen by accident. It's not going to happen in the concentric circle where you live. If you don't intentionally go out to make an impact and to reach and to touch and to learn, you're just never going to get beyond where you are. And so, I think that's just a big part of what we all should do. And I think the mutual respect line and civil dialogue. That's the other thing. Our civil discourse has just gotten so horrendous that if we could just learn to just speak lovingly to one another, that in and of itself would just change everything.
Wow. Marcus, any final words? I think you're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, I think that mutual respect and dialogue is it. That is the golden key. And having more of these forums, discussions, and getting to know and their beliefs, which makes this garden more and more beautiful. I mean, I respect every single one of you who are here, and I hold you dear in my heart. I am not going to judge who you are, what you do, and why you do what you do, and why you think what you think. That is not up to me. Nobody gives me that right. All I know is that you're a human being and you care and you want to love and you want to be loved. So I embrace you. And I think having meetings like this goes such a way in creating a better and better environment for us all.
Amen.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for joining me. I'm going to put you backstage really quick, but I really appreciate all of you and all that you have added. I think, like all of you have said, but particularly what Denise was saying, I think it's just so important that we either rebuild the table or invite those to the table that have typically not been there before. And I think that's the only way that we can continue to progress this conversation. So thank you all so much for agreeing to be here and agreeing to kind of put yourself out there.
Thank you.
So thank you all so much for joining us. This is just a reminder that we want to encourage you to get as much information as possible on the Office of Human Rights and Equity. You can do that by visiting our website at www.howardcountymd.gov/OHRE. You can also follow us on social media at HOCO OHRE. And there you'll be able to stay up on all of the trainings, all of the events, all of the various opportunities that we have for you to be able to engage with individuals that are different from you so that you can practice just what our panelists were speaking about, the importance of mutual respect and civil dialogue. Have a great rest of your day.